what is website hosting? I want to create a website for my business, but I'm not sure what to pay. But I want to be sure I'm not paying for something that I don't need.
Sure. Well, depending on, there are some companies that allow you to build your own website and actually charge you a monthly fee. And what they actually are doing is winding in like a website development program and hosting all in one. They're just not calling it hosting, but you're actually hosting on their servers. In a traditional setting, once a website's built, there would be a place on a server, ideally a large server farm that has backups and everything like that, that is hosting your website. And when anybody goes to your domain name or the name of your website, the URL, it points them at that place on that server and it shows them your website. So typically hosting is going to be somewhere, depending on what kind of hosting you get, whether it's higher speed or whether it has SSL certificates and things like that included. You could spend anywhere from $10 a month for really bare bones basic hosting with no maintenance and no security certificate or anything, up to, $50, $60 for a more enhanced hosting per month package. So a lot of people get their domain name, their domain registration, and their hosting confused. Your domain registration is the name of your website. The URL your website is at. The host, and that's usually once a year. You're going to spend $20 a year for the domain name. The hosting, you're going to typically spend a monthly fee, or you might be able to pay for a year in advance or a couple years in advance. But it's typically going to be between $10 and $50 a month for hosting your website. And again, depending on what features you get, we have a package we call hosting and maintenance, because we go in there and we update the plugins and we make sure they have the latest security protocols and things like that. So that's what we call hosting and maintenance. But you can get a bare bones hosting package, which is just going to mean when somebody goes to your domain name, they're going to see your website. So if you want to have a website, you're going to have hosting, whether that's packaged into some sort of bundle, Squarespace sort of, monthly fee, or Shopify is a good example where you don't pay a hosting fee because your website's actually being hosted via the Shopify network. So those would be a couple of types of websites where you wouldn't necessarily have to pay a hosting fee. But if you have a WordPress website or something like that, you're going to have to pay a separate hosting fee.
No, that's a good point. I have domain stuff coming up this week. And I'd say the basic domain, like you said, if your website name is going to be around $20, sometimes if it's a more popular term, or if it's something like if you were to just try to type in marketing.com, chances are it's probably going to be more expensive. So the more popular, or more, I should say the other way, the more specific, or like using your name within your industry, chances are you're going to have a lower priced domain name. So it's just something to think about if you're starting off, try to figure out exactly what you're paying for.
Yeah. And this, if you're searching for something really general, like marketing, the reality is it's probably taken. And if it's not taken, it's going to probably cost you, as you mentioned, a lot of money. But again, I'm still a big believer. I know there's a lot of other .co, .biz, all these other things. I'm still a big believer in a .com. If you can get a .com, I think it's kind of like when somebody, if you say to my website's iMagnet MGT, people assume .com. So when you have a .net or .other, you have to really be particular. You almost have to work harder to make sure people know it's .net, because people will assume it's .com. So if you can get a .com that works for you, I would always recommend a .com over some of the other options.